powers and privileges on the conduct of Senator Gloria Orwoba, MP.
Senate Majority Leader.
Here is a matter of a member who did not find difficulty in apologizing. Mr. Speaker, this is a variation of the resolution of the Senate on the report of the Committee of Powers and Privilege on the conduct of Senator Gloria Orwoba. That aware that on the 20th of September, that aware that on 20th September 2023, the Senate adopted the report of the Committee on Powers and Privilege and the conduct of Senator Gloria Orwoba and resolved to suspend the Senator from the precincts of Parliament for the remainder of the second session of the 13th Parliament, which period amounted 79 calendar days. Cognizant that Senator Orwoba subsequently sought judicial intervention, obtaining a court order that stayed the implementation of the Senate's resolution until the matter was determined, and that the High Court, in its judgment delivered on the 15th of January 2025, dismissed the petition, thereby reinstating the suspension. Considering that Senator Orwoba has shown a considerable level of remorse and that following the communication by the Speaker on Wednesday, 12 February 2025, on the implementation of the powers, on the resolution of the Senate on the report of the Committee of Powers and Privilege on the conduct of Senator Gloria Orwoba, MP, the Senator was apologetic for her conduct. Now, therefore, pursuant to Section 17(3)(d) and G of the Parliamentary Powers and Privilege Act, the Senate resolves to vary its resolution made on the 20th September 2023, suspending Senator Orwoba from the Senate and the precincts of Parliament for 79 calendar days, and reduces the suspension period to 30 calendar days, commencing 12 February 2025 to 13th March 2025, after which the Senator shall be allowed back to the Senate and the precincts of Parliament on the terms resolved by the Senate on 20th September 2023. Mr. Speaker, this is a request that I want to make to the House via this motion, that once a colleague has approached us in the way that Senator Orwoba came to realization that her conduct was not in line with what is expected of a senator, and has since apologized to the House on record, Mr. Speaker, the way she did on the day that she was asked to leave the chamber, Mr. Speaker, that I want to call upon the collective wisdom of colleague senators to consider reducing the sentence from 79 days, which is almost 3 months to have a colleague out of the precincts of Parliament, to 30 days, which is at least 1 month, Mr. Speaker. She'll have served the sentence. And even then, Mr. Speaker, the final bit of this motion is that when she resumes, she will actually do other things which the motion that suspended are required of her to do after the 79 days. So actually the only reprieve that this senator is asking, or that I want to request colleague senators to pass in this House, is to reduce from 79 to 30 days, calendar days. It's a humble request to colleague senators that I want to request that we be fair and accord. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I want to request my brother, the Minority Leader, Senator Retired Justice Stewart Mazzaya, to second this motion. I thank you.
Just one moment, Minority Leader. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, visiting teachers and students from Kapkisiara Girls High School in Kericho County. The delegation comprises 8 teachers and 103 students who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposure. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Majority Leader, would you take a minute to welcome them, and Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to welcome these students from Kapkisiara Girls Secondary School in Bureti Sub-County, one of the top performing schools from the county, Mr. Speaker, who are here on a visit to the institution. I do hope that they have enjoyed the full value of the time that they have taken. They have seen us debate, and what you have just seen your senator do Mr. Speaker, is to move a motion, and the seconder is about to take to the floor. Mr. Speaker, after their visit, as is the tradition of this senator of theirs, I will walk behind to greet them and wish them safe travel back home. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator of Bomet, did you want to welcome them as well?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I initially wanted to bring to your attention the fact that they were just about to be asked of the public gallery, and I do want to appreciate the intervention that you took so that they also feel the presence of being welcomed by their senator in the House. I want to join my neighbor, Senator Aaron Cheruiyot, who is the majority leader of the House, in welcoming them to this House as well. I know that you have learned a lot by just even being present here. I equally will join him, being a good neighbor, to welcome you behind the chamber of the Senate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minority Leader? Minority Leader, you can second the motion.
Asante mstahiki Spika. Mstahiki Spika, kitu cha kwanza ni kwamba yule ambaye alikuwa amefanya makosa na ikabainika wazi ya kwamba kweli seneta alikuwa amefanya makosa, seneta yule aliweza kuomba msamaha wakati alipatikana kuwa na hiyo hatia. Na kawaida, Mr. Speaker, unaona ule ugumu wa mtu akiwa amekosea na akiwa hajui, na akiwa amekosea na akiwa anajua. Mr. Speaker, wengi huwa pengine anaweza kukataa kuomba msamaha, ama wengine wakaweza kuomba msamaha. Sasa hivi tayari ndugu yetu Mtata alikuwa hapa, na amesema ijapokuwa akijivua yeye nguo yake anaweza kuomba msamaha, lakini kwa vile ambavyo ameona ajigawanye mara mbili, akasema yeye pia amesema pole sana na ameomba msamaha.
Senator Mazayo.
Na hii Senate ikamsamehe.
Senator Mazayo, kwanza Senator Omtata hakusema lolote kuhusu kuvua nguo yake. Kama unaweza kurekebisha hiyo matamshi yako.
Kujitenga mwili wake na vile
sema hivyo, umesema kuvua nguo.
Pole Bwana Speaker, pengine ulimi uliteleza. Ndio nikasikia sauti ya Sifuna akicheka sana. Bwana Speaker, kila binadamu hufanya makosa, na kila binadamu huwa anaweza kuomba msamaha ama kukataa kuomba msamaha. Dada yetu Orwoba, Gloria, aliweza kuomba msamaha. Kwa hiyo mimi sioni jambo gumu la kwamba kutakuwa na mushkil ambao hatuwezi kumsamehe. Mimi nimeona zile siku walizokuwa wamepewa siku 79 za kama kuadhibiwa, na alipoomba msamaha sisi sote tulikuwa na mioyo mikunjufu na tukakubaliana. Na mimi naona ya kwamba kugeuza zile siku na kuzipunguza ili dada yetu aweze kurudi, seneta mwenzetu, naona hakuna shida. Kwa hiyo mimi naunga mkono taarifa hii ya kuweza kugeuza kutoka kwa 79 ifike 30 ili dada yetu aweze kurudi kwa nyumba yetu ya Senate, aendelee kama kawaida yake kusaidia Wakenya katika maisha yao. Asante Bwana Speaker. Naunga mkono taarifa hii.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that aware that on 20th September 2023, the Senate adopted the report of the Committee of Powers and Privileges on the conduct of Senator Gloria Orwoba, MP, and resolved to suspend the Senator from the precincts of Parliament for the remainder of the second session of the 13th Parliament, which period amounted to 79 calendar days. Cognizant that Senator Orwoba subsequently sought judicial intervention, obtaining a court order that stayed the implementation of the Senate's resolution until the matter was determined, and that the High Court and its judgment delivered on 15th January 2025 dismissed the petition, thereby reinstating the suspension. Considering that Senator Orwoba has shown a considerable level of remorse, and that following the communication by the Speaker on Wednesday, 12 February 2025, on the implementation of the resolution of the Senate on the report of the Committee of Powers and Privileges on the conduct of Senator Gloria Orwoba, MP, the Senator was apologetic for her conduct. Now, therefore, pursuant to Section 17(3)(d) and (g) of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, the Senate resolves to vary its resolution made on 20th September 2023, suspending Senator Orwoba from the Senate and precincts of Parliament for 79 calendar days, and reduces the suspension period to 30 calendar days, commencing 12th February 2025 to 13th March 2025, after which the Senator shall be allowed back to the Senate and the precincts of Parliament on the terms resolved by the Senate on 20th September 2023. Honorable Senators, we shall allow debate on this matter. Senator Joyce Korir. Can you give Joyce Korir the mic?
Yeah, asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Yangu ni kuweza kusimama na Mheshimiwa Gloria, kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, kila mtu hufanya makosa. Na katika kielezo imefafanua ya kwamba Mheshimiwa Gloria ameweza kuomba msamaha, na ndiposa ningependa kusema Mheshimiwa Spika, najua kila mtu hufanya makosa. Sisi wote tuatenda makosa, na ni mzuri pia kusameheana ili tuweze kutekeleza majukumu ambayo iko miongoni mwetu. So kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kusimama naye na niseme aweze kurudi hiyo tarehe ambaye imeandikwa ya tarehe 12. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Tabitha Keroche.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, also for giving me this opportunity. And I also want to rise and support the House and what they've seen to pardon Gloria for the mistakes that she made. But I hope, even as we forgive her, and we didn't want her to come back on that March 12, it's just to ensure that the persons that were affected by her utterances, she's written letters to them just to apologize to them on a personal level, because some utterances, I think, affected even people with families and all that, if I remember very well. So mine is just to say that I just hope that she took to her point to ensure that she's written a letter to the people that were affected by her bad utterances on a personal level, because as a senators, we'll forgive her because of the letter that she wrote for an apology. But we don't want to forgive her and we move forward and then leave other people behind, especially the people who are affected by her bad utterances. And then also this one will also set an example that you cannot just be talking bad things about people and then you just write a letter and apologize. So there must be some measures taken just to ensure the people who are affected, whether she really apologized to them on a personal level, then of course bring the letter that she brought in the House. But we as a House, we need her in the House, so we'll always welcome her and support also that we forgive her, but we ensure, Mr. Speaker, sir, that you ensure that the people who are affected by these utterances have been apologized to on a personal level, so that even as we walk the journey, all of us, we were walking together. And I remember some of them are the people that we rely on, who are the clerks of this house, that they need to be apologized to. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Murgor.
I too thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also join my colleagues by saying that I concur with their views that she should be forgiven, and to miss the House for more than 2 months would have been very long for her, and a lot would have gone under the bridge, and she would have missed a lot. And so the reduction to 30 days is really very appropriate and good enough for her to learn the lesson that she needs. And I would also, my view is that I hope she learned a lesson that she will not walk the same path again when she comes back, because it's one thing to ask for forgiveness and change attitude, change her ways, change her language, and it's another to be forgiven and yet go the same way again. So it's my hope that she has learned enough and will change the way she talks, the way her attitude towards others, so that it is not something that will just be like a play. So I join to forgive her and to welcome her back. Thank you.
Senator Edwin Sifuna.
Honorable Speaker, I want to say from the onset that whilst I have no opposition to the proposed course of action, perhaps the majority leader, who unfortunately I did not have opportunity to speak to prior to the introduction of his motion, could address, because we are a house of record, could address legal and constitutional principles behind the decision that the House wants to take. First of all, I've looked at the section of the Powers and Privileges Act that you have invoked. This is section 17(3)(d) and G of the Powers and Privileges Act. It has no reference at all to rescinding decisions that have been passed by this House. And also in the standing orders, perhaps you can also demonstrate to us, maybe when you're replying to the motion, how this sits, because you understand that there are grievous matters such as when a bill says rejected in this House, in terms of the time period within which it can be reintroduced. And also, lastly, Honorable Speaker, perhaps the majority leader in his reply can also speak to whether the subject of the attacks, the victim themselves, have said anything on this matter, so that as a House, we also don't appear as if we are taking one side of the story. And it would be nice to know whether there's any communication from the persons affected by the conduct of a senator, so that when we're making that decision, we make a decision out of appreciation of the full facts. So those are going to be my only comments, Honorable Speaker. We don't need to belabor. I thank you.
Very well. Senator Kinyo. John.
Asante, Bwana Speaker. Kwanza mwanzo nitaka kukubaliana na hayo maombi, lakini ni vizuri nikubaliana na Senator Sifuna ya kwamba hata ijapokuwa ndio tunamsamehe Senator Gloria, lakini yule ambaye tayari alikuwa ameadhiriwa na yale matendo, yeye anasema namna gani, Bwana Speaker? Kwa sababu ukifanya makosa na umejuta makosa yako, yule ambaye ulimkosea pengine unapaswa kumuomba msamaha na yeye mwenyewe akubali ule msamaha, kwa sababu ndio sisi kama seneti tunaweza tukakubaliana, lakini yule ambaye alikuwa ameadhiriwa bado ako na ule uchungu. Bwana Spika, pengine ni vizuri hata yule ambaye alikuwa ameadhiriwa, huyu seneta ambaye ni Gloria amuombe msamaha, kwa sababu kitabu kitakatifu cha Mungu kinasema kile ambacho huku duniani kimesamehewa hata mbinguni kimesamehewa. Kwa hivyo mimi nakubaliana na wenzangu, lakini kwa sababu Bwana Spika, yule ambaye ni 100% ni Mwenyezi Mungu peke yake, ni vizuri hata sisi tusamehe, kwa sababu leo ni mimi, kesho ni wewe. Kwa hivyo ni mtindo mzuri kwa watu kusameheana, kwa sababu tukiwa katika dunia hii naweza nikakugwarusa, kesho unigwaruse, na ule uzoefu wa kusameheana utakuwa ni mfano mzuri sana kwa katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Na vile vile kwa sababu leo tumekuwa tukijadili huu mswada wa Leonard Mambo Mbotela, itakuwa ni ungwana kwetu sisi kuwasamehe wenzetu. Nashukuru Bwana Spika.
Very well, I think the mover can reply. Oh, sorry, Senator Sige.
Thank you once again, Mr. Speaker. As I rise to also make a comment on the motion by the leader of majority, Mr. Speaker, it should not lost in us that the Honorable Senator Gloria did indeed exercise her right to seek for judicial intervention, and a finding was made by the court. As to her choice not to pursue an appeal against that decision which went against her, could be a revelation on her part as to the importance of seeking to apologize before the House, because that decision she was seeking to challenge was occasioned by the decision of this House. And as much as the House had made a decision to punish her for a period of 79 days, in the presence of an apology on her part to the members, I believe including the victim of the actions that led to the punishment by the House, is sufficient in the circumstances, particularly where the mover of the motion has not completely proposed that the punishment be rescinded, as it has only been reduced from 79 days to 30 days. From where I sit, Mr. Speaker, having a colleague who has without hesitation sought to be forgiven by the members, all who could have been or could not have been affected by the decision that was made, should be considered, and the period of punishment be reduced as proposed by the leader of majority. And so, as we consider this, I am very sure that the majority leader will also be able to speak to a few of the issues that members have raised here in the context of a decision having been made, and also the position of the victim of the utterances that led to the subject that we are debating this afternoon. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for granting me the opportunity.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Mr. Speaker, this is a very difficult issue for me to speak about because I am a new member of this House, and as a new member of this House, I depend on the different legal instruments of this House on such matters. And one of the things that I never want to vary is the wisdom of the leadership of the House. When such a motion has been sponsored by the majority leader, I never want to vary that, because there is wisdom in that leadership. That's why you have leadership in the House. So perhaps what will guide my judgment in supporting or not supporting this motion, number one, is just guidance from the majority leader that the decisions are made of this magnitude in this House. Do they merit as functus officio? I.e., under Article 125 of the Constitution, where powers and privileges comes and pronounce itself, then we make a judicious decision. fundamentally it means that that decision is made in the context of a high court of Kenya. That's what the Constitution gives us the power to do. Because there were evidence that were required when the Honorable Senator sat in the Powers and Privileges Committee, which then falls within that Article 125. So the question in a layman's language is, once a court has made this decision, can it eat that decision? Can it come back and vary that decision? If I'm guided so, as a judge, I can be able to talk about it. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the matter was further escalated by the Honorable Senator to the real courts. You know, we are a quasi-judicial house, but the matter was related to the courts, and the courts had a pronouncement on this matter. And I know that on the side of minority side, the leader of minority is a former judge. So again, my wisdom cannot in any way dispute whatever guidance he will give us on our side as a minority. But when the matter was escalated to court, and the court made a pronouncement on the matter, can we vary the pronouncement of that court and say that regardless of the fact that the court pronounced itself that the senator must serve the entire term, is it still our decision, or is it still the decision of the court? Then lastly, Mr. Speaker, is on the very important issue that the Senator of Nairobi, the Honorable Senator of Nairobi, Senator Sifuna, has raised, which is the issue of the matter we are looking at here was not about the senator, was about the senator vis-a-vis senior staff members who are serving the institution of Senate and Parliament. And to the effect that there were allegations made by the Honorable Senator. Does apology, for which the backdrop, because you opened that window, which I think we should not have opened after the court decision, but because it was opened and that apology was given to her to make, that apology in its assessment, does it mean withdrawal of all the allegations against those members of the staff, to the extent that we need to be judicious, not only just to the senator, but also to the staff members who are involved? So would that mean, by extension, that there will be a requirement, whether a pseudo requirement or an active requirement on the side of the senator, to actually withdraw all those allegations that were found to be baseless? Because then, that way, I think then will be a house that is fair to both parties that are involved in this issue without by any bipartisan nature. And I think that it might not be a question of just voting, Majority Leader, if I may beg. I think that this is just not a question that we might just discuss on the floor of the House, but also might need a wisdom on a small kamkunji, perhaps, where we can be able to discuss and see how we also maintain and protect the sanctity of the House, because we are setting a precedence for future generations. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Muma.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this motion by Majority Leader. Now, I will not be long on this issue. Honorable Speaker, this matter was decided in court, and I wish to bring it to the attention of the Senate, just in case the Senate is not aware. I think another case on this matter is still pending before the courts. My suggestion is that before we make a decision, because this involves a matter that might fall within character assassination of an individual, I don't know whether, as the Senate, we have the capacity to forgive on that matter on behalf of somebody who's not even before the Senate to be able to express themselves. My suggestion is that we get the JLAC committee to give us a view on what this means, and I pick the JLAC instead of the director or the Directorate of Legal because it is a matter between a senator and member of staff. And I'm suggesting that a committee of the Senate be the one to look at these issues and to advise on whether we have the capacity or capability of giving the resolve or the reprieve that we want to give as we are proposing. Honorable Speaker, I also suggest that we actually need a policy in Parliament on matters relating to sexual harassment that touches on members of Parliament, so that we are able, I have read the policy on sexual harassment following what has happened in this House. I have read the policy on sexual harassment for Bunge, and that policy only covers members of staff. I think we need to move the Parliamentary Service Commission to actually put in place a policy and procedures on how to handle matters similar to this matter, because part of the challenge by the affected senator was that they did not have confidence in whatever process that we had. But having gone to court, they elected, or they were not able to persuade the court in the manner of this procedure. So my view is that it will be unfair for us to step in the shoe of the affected person and purport to make a decision on their behalf on this matter, having decided. And I think we can revisit it, and I personally have no problem in forgiving anybody, but I think we need the JLAC to give us a view on what they think, how they think we should handle this matter. Thank you.
Mover to reply, Majority Leader.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank colleagues who have taken time to speak to this particular matter. Mr. Speaker, indeed, it's an interesting matter because it's not one that I'd have very strong feelings about on how a member decides on this particular issue. Because at the end of the day, I believe an apology that has been rendered and the punishment that this House rendered on the offenses that were committed by Senator Gloria Orwoba are personal. Therefore, if a member feels that indeed that particular member has owned up to their mistakes and has requested the House that they be given a lighter punishment, not that they are not punished completely, but be granted a lighter punishment. It is on that basis, Mr. Speaker, that I moved the House to reduce the sentence and the Senate to vary its resolution. There are a few things that have come up which I'll attempt to respond, Mr. Speaker. First is what Senator Sifuna raised with reference to the motion coming back to the House within a period less than 6 months. Mr. Speaker, sir, this motion was moved actually on the, to be specific, on the 23rd of September, 20th of September 2023. Therefore, it's far more beyond the 6 months period upon which you can bring a motion separate to the one that had earlier been resolved. Secondly, Senator Sifuna also inquired on the provisions cited, Section 17, 3D and G. The reference to them was to the punishment, not that the House has powers to do. Actually, the punishment that was meted to Senator Gloria by this House is in reference to those specific, that she be asked to leave the House for a certain period and also being asked to apologize. That is why, Mr. Speaker, in the final part of the motion, I have stated that there is a term there that when Senator Gloria Orwoba returns, should members agree with this motion, she will be admitted to this House on terms resolved by the Senate on 20th September 2023. So you have to ask yourself, what were the terms? If you have observed previously when a member has been kicked out of this House, it's also a very difficult experience. It's not something as easy as just walking back to the House. When she comes back, it is almost similar to the first day we came to this House, where you have the rostrum placed at the door there, and they formally apologize to all the people that they have wronged before the House finally agrees that they be admitted back. So, Mr. Speaker, it's not like we are making this sentence lighter. I have listened to Senator Catherine Muma, and I think there are two things perhaps you may need to remember. There were two cases on this matter. The one is where she contested the decision of the Senate, to which a full determination has been made, and the courts agreed with the decision of the Senate that actually we acted rightfully within the law to suspend her. And that's why the sentence now holds. The second matter is now the issue that you're referring to, where members are saying there's an individual who was maligned, there's an individual whose name was tarnished. That matter is still active before the court. And there is no way in which this decision, one way or the other, is saying that that matter before the court be ruled this way or the other. What we are resolving as a House, Senator Muma, is on the issue of the number of the days that she served the suspension. Is it 79 days or 30? And I felt, together with after consulting with colleagues, and said, the punishment she will serve anyway, because it needs to serve as a lesson. I continue to see sometimes us disrespect our own authority as a House, because every time I do something that is disrespectful in this House, Mr. Speaker, I am disrespecting the collective standing of this House, Mr. Speaker, before colleague senators and even before the country. Therefore, I want to agree with the decision that was made by the powers and privilege that for her conduct, Senator Gloria Orwoba must be punished. The only thing that we have requested you is that after having punished her, and given, in fact, the only thing that I reference to is the fact that she has since formally, or when granted an opportunity by the Speaker, apologized to the House, meaning that she has admitted that there is a way in which she behaved that was not up to the standing of a senator before all of us. Then I said, if that be the case, then I'd rather request the House that we review, not to waive the punishment, but just to review it from 79 days to 30 calendar days, which I find, Mr. Speaker, to be a fair ask of us colleagues, because like they say, to err is human, Mr. Speaker, that we can all sometimes mess. This does not in any way, Senator Eddy, take away the rights of the individual that you're speaking about, the clerk of the Senate. I'm sure that particular matter, and I wouldn't wish to speak long on that particular issue of the dispute between them, so as not to appear as if you are in support of this or the other particular person. I believe, because he strongly feels that his rights were violated, Mr. Speaker, that is a matter that is before the court. What is before us is a review of the punishment that this House passed on her. Remember, there is a case between the person who's accusing her, that she maligned her, and a case between her and senators, because senators felt that she had behaved inappropriately, and therefore senators punished her. This request is on the matter of the senators and the Senate of the Republic of Kenya versus our colleague, where we are saying, since our colleague has publicly come before us and said, I apologize, then let's review that particular sentence. I thought that will be clear and in any way does not prejudice the other matter that is between, that is in the courts, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I beg to reply. In accordance to Standing Order number 66, Mr. Speaker, I beg that we defer the putting of a question, given that I can see the number of people that are in the House, Mr. Speaker, wouldn't be sufficient to take a vote. And this is one such matter also where I would wish that when you are taking the vote, you have as many senators as possible in the House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, Senators, Honorable Senators, we are going to defer putting of the question till tomorrow or when we have quorum, and we will go to the next order. Order number 13, Clerk.
Order number 13, motion, report of the Mediation Committee